Hello, and welcome to the next episode in our Gifted Education series. In this episode, I'll be focusing on understanding and supporting our highly intelligent children. My name is Dr. Jo Tuite, and I've worked in the field of gifted education for about 35 years. If this is the first time you're joining me for one of our episodes, let me tell you a little bit about my educational background. It's a bit varied. I have undergraduate degrees in business administration and sociology, a master's in educational administration and supervision, and a doctorate in educational leadership with a focus on gifted education. Lending context to my education are my children. I'm the proud parent of 4 kiddos who truly kind of run the educational spectrum, if you will, from needing special education services to being a high achiever. I have a creative learner and a high ability student as well. And they have truly given me a fantastic parent perspective. So that's enough about me. Let's jump into our topic. I will be relying heavily on information provided by Howard Gardner, the Davidson Institute, Psych2Go, and the Jamestown School District in North Dakota in order to meet our objectives, which you can see there on the screen in front of you. In this episode, I will look to define highly intelligent and review what the characteristics of those children may be. We'll look to identify common habits and things that our highly intelligent children may do a little bit differently. We will look at the struggles that they face and identify methods of support. So we'll spend a little bit of time developing an understanding, and then we'll go over different ways as parents and family members that we can support our highly intelligent children. Highly intelligent means possessing those exceptional cognitive abilities, such as advanced reasoning, the ability to learn quickly, to recognize patterns at a rapid rate, to have that ability to understand complex information. It's often marked by a high IQ, an intense curiosity, and often with our highly intelligent children, the ability to kind of look at and perceive the world differently. It kind of goes beyond being smart, and it involves that deeper faculty for abstract thought, for problem solving, and for synthesizing information across multiple domains. You're going to see information on your screen there about IQ. The IQ ranges listed are kind of based on that common standard bell curve. It's important to note, though, that different IQ tests actually may sit differently within those ranges listed. Some, for example, some might have a cap of 145, and some may use different terminology. The majority of the population, though, sits in that IQ level of about 85 to 115. While the universal consensus, if you will, is that students who deviate from the average IQ range of about 100 require special accommodations in order to meet their individual academic needs. It's not necessary, though, to have an IQ test in order to know that your child is highly intelligent and or in need of those additional accommodations. There are some key intellectual characteristics that you might recognize in your child. For example, the ability to rapidly process information. They might learn quickly, have an excellent memory, be able to see connections that others may not see. My daughter that is a high achiever, highly intelligent, she was able to make connections very quickly and at a very young age that I didn't even see sometimes, but she was able to do that rather quickly. And so that was one of my first clues, if you will, that she was a highly intelligent child. Another key intellectual characteristics would be deep and abstract thinking. So, seeking puzzles, finding patterns, moving from simple to complex ideas, as well as going the reverse from complex to simplistic ideas. Another characteristics is kind of that. Intense inner world. So they have a rich, complex inner life, and they may represent as being highly sensitive, deeply curious. Um, and sometimes that can lead to overexcitabilities. Another characteristic would be being analytic and observant. So they may have strong pattern recognition and kind of that catch those little details that others may often miss, or it may take them a while. Others may take others a while, excuse me, to see those fine details where they're able to pick up on that very quickly. They may also have some unique habits. So, for example, they may prefer solitude. They may be night owls. They may have really broad interest levels. And as I've experienced with my highly intelligent child, they may have cluttered workspace. So again, those are another a set of characteristics you may see. And then the final one that I'll mention is they may have a tolerance for ambiguity. So they may have a question and be able to wait quite a while in order to get that answer. They can hold on to that and kind of be processing and considering until they have all of the information they need. So they don't have to have an immediate answer. They're okay sitting in that ambiguity while they're learning enough and gathering the data that they need in order to get the answer to that question. So let's dive just a little bit deeper into what intelligence means. There's not just one form of intelligence. In 1983, Howard Gardner, who was a psychologist and professor at Harvard University, I believe, introduced to us multiple different types of intelligences in his book, Frames of the Mind. And then in 2011, there was a ninth one. So there were originally 8, and then, like I mentioned, 2011, a ninth one was added. Now, it doesn't necessarily meet the initial inclusion criteria, but it is one that is commonly considered an intelligence level. So let's go ahead and review those in just a little bit more detail. As we're doing so, see if you see your kiddo in one of these. So the first type of intelligence we'll kind of touch on is spatial intelligence. And you can think of that as the ability to think abstractly and across multiple dimensions. So what careers do you think this might be good for? If you're thinking a pilot, a photographer, a graphic designer, an architect, a surgeon, an artist, an engineer, you would be correct. Next, let's think about the bodily kinesthetic intelligence. This is the ability to use your body in a way that demonstrates physical and athletic prowess. So students with that type of intelligence, some potential career choices are dancer, physical therapist, athlete, mechanic, builder, even an actor. Next, let's look at musical intelligence. So students that have kind of a sensitivity to rhythm, pitch, meter, tone, melody, and that sort of thing, may be demonstrating musical intelligence. Some potential careers for those that are proficient in musical intelligence would be a singer, a musical conductor, a DJ, music teacher, songwriter, composer, and that sort of sort of get the idea on that one. So next, let's look at our linguistic intelligence. This is sometimes called language intelligence, and this involves a sensitivity to the meaning of words, the order that they're placed in, the sounds, the rhythms, the inflections, the meter, the deeper meanings within those words. So if your kiddo is displaying intelligence within linguistics, some possible career options would be a poet, a novelist, a journalist, editor, lawyer, English professor. Next, let's look at our logical or mathematical intelligence. So this is that ability to analyze problems logically and to carry out mathematical operations and investigate things scientifically. So people with this type of intelligence have potential career choices such as computer programmers, mathematicians, economists, accountants, scientists, engineers. I love to mention here that a couple of people who have or have demonstrated the logical mathematical intelligence include Albert Einstein, for example, and Bill Gates. The next intelligence is the interpersonal intelligence. And this is the ability to interact effectively with other people. They have a sensitivity to other people's moods, to their feelings, to their temperaments, to their motivations. So people that have an interpersonal intelligence, some career choices may be as a team manager, a negotiator, a politician, a publicist, maybe a salesperson, a psychologist. So some really great options there as well. Next, we'll talk about the interpersonal intelligence. And this is a sensitivity to one's own feelings, to your own goals and anxieties, and capacity to plan and act in light of your own traits and characteristics. So some potential career choices for someone who's very sensitive to their own feelings would be a therapist, a counselor, psychologist, entrepreneur, philosopher, theorist. Again, those would be excellent career choices for somebody very sensitive to their own feelings. The next intelligence is the naturalistic intelligence. And this is the ability to understand the nuances that exist in nature, including the distinctions between plants and animals and other elements that exist in nature and in life in general. Some career options for those with a naturalistic intelligence would be a geologist, farmer, botanist, conservationist, florist, and numerous others, but that gives you an idea of some of the great career options available for our students that have naturalistic intelligence. If your kiddo tends to ask deep questions and kind of look at that big picture and seek understanding of the world, they may be demonstrating characteristics of existential intelligence. And those that have intelligence in that particular area, some possible career choices would include a philosopher, a theorist, a theologian, and life coach, just to name a couple. So as we went through these, and I know we went really quickly and I didn't go into a tremendous amount of detail, I just kind of wanted to brush the surface to give you an idea. But did you see your kiddo in any of those? Like I mentioned, I have 4 kids and I can definitely see each of them in one of those different intelligence levels. So next, let's take a look at some of the common habits our highly intelligent children may have. They may treat every situation like it's a learning experience. They feel like they can learn something from every new experience that they may engage in. They try to absorb everything that people tell them. They also find that there's value in the journey and not just the result. So they have the habit of trying to figure things out for themselves first, before actually asking for help. And they find value in that struggle. Oftentimes, as kids and as human beings, we don't like to sit in those moments of struggle. But our highly intelligent children understand that sitting in those moments of struggle is often where the greatest learning can happen. And so they're good with sitting in that. They know that not trying first and going straight for help is going to result in a high degree of dependency. Our highly intelligent children may ask a lot of questions. I've experienced this with my own, as well as within the field of gifted education. They ask a lot of questions. It allows them to have a better perspective on how the world works and how their place fits within that, as well as, like I've mentioned before, they enjoy learning new things, and so that allows them to do that. Another characteristic may be that they learn best by imitation. So they learn better by seeing it done first and then doing it. In this world of YouTube and TikTok, there's a plethora of how-to videos out there. And so they may utilize that to watch first and then let their ideas and their creativity take over, making slight modifications to what they've watched, and coming up with kind of their own innovative thoughts. We also might see that they exercise daily. They prioritize getting enough rest. They prioritize daily exercise because they understand that and are aware that there are health benefits in making sure that they get enough rest and get enough exercise, and that overall health is important for their cognitive and intellectual capabilities. They may also simplify their routines as much as possible. Routines can be kind of crazy for all of us, right? But our highly intelligent children, they are known for simplifying their schedules, because they are truly focusing on those things that are going to be most important to them and have the most value added to them. So they're streamlining those schedules. And by doing so, it does make it easier for some of these other habits that they have to have time and space in those schedules. And then finally, they might have the habit of making everyone around them feel smart. So they tend to praise other people and recognize other person's successes and intelligences. And even if it's something that they already know or something that they've already learned, and maybe their friend is just now learning that, they make sure to take a moment to praise and recognize that person's learning. So again, they make everyone around them feel smart. So that was a quick look at some of the common habits that highly intelligent children may have. Now let's take a look at some of the things that they might do differently. So first, they can adapt. And we kind of touched a little bit on adaptation a few minutes ago, but they truly can adapt rather quickly to different environments or changes within that environment. One of the reasons why they might be able to do so is because it requires them to use many different cognitive processes all at once, such as perception, learning, memory, problem solving, and so forth. And so it's allowing them to kind of function on all cylinders, if you will, and gather and process and utilize lots of incoming information and data all at once. And so again, they may be able to adapt very quickly. And another thing that they may do differently is see every moment as an opportunity to learn and ask questions, because they recognize that part of learning is asking questions. I have a nephew that when he was younger, he was very highly intelligent child, still is a very highly intelligent adult, but he would ask some of the most deep and insightful questions. And it would be, Aunt Joe, I was thinking. And then he would ask his question. I would be like, oh my God, I'm not sure I can answer this. I'm going to have to do some research. So highly intelligent children aren't just asking those questions like why, but why, but why, but why. You know the game they like to play. Every little answer you give them, the next question is why, why, why. Highly intelligent children, their questions are not going to be like that. They are going to be insightful and thought-provoking questions. Another thing they may do differently is understand that they don't know everything. Oftentimes, it's a held perception that highly intelligent people think that they know it all, that they may be perceived as being overconfident. But in all reality, our highly intelligent children, they recognize that they don't know everything. And then they may also always be seeking knowledge. And again, those two are kind of connected because they recognize that they don't know everything. So they're seeking that knowledge. And so the correlation between learning and intelligence is explained by neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to change or adapt by forming those different neural connections throughout life. And I'm not going to go into any more of that because it starts to get a little bit above my understanding level. Another thing they do differently is they get bored. Again, I saw this so much with my nephew when we would take him, usually for the summer. But he would get bored so easily, and it was very frustrating for us. But I now sit back and think, oh gosh, it must have been so frustrating for him because he would just kind of take in absolutely everything around him in the environment, and do so quickly that being able to keep him actively engaged and out of that boredom was really challenging. I want to check my notes here real quick. There was a 2019 study that found that participants who were asked to perform a mundane sorting task and I love this, performed higher in the later section, which was a test on their creativity. So again, let me restate that. So in this study, a group of highly intelligent people were asked to perform kind of mundane tasks. And then later they were asked to perform more of a creative portion of the study. And what they found is that those who did the mundane tasks first did better in the creative portion of the study than having not done the mundane tasks first. And the thought process or understanding from this was that the boredom allowed their brain to rest and access that creative part of their brain. So it's another reason why as educators, you'll often hear taking a brain break. In one of our episodes, I talk about study skills, and one of the study skills I recommend is after about 25 minutes or so of work, taking a 5-minute brain break, and that again allows your brain to rest and helps you then to later access those more creative portions of your brain. So another thing would be they generally are self-aware and introspective because they do spend time in self-examination and reflection. So they're thinking about the decisions that they make, about the things that they've done throughout the day. They reflect back on the learning that's taken place. And so they actively practice that art of self-reflection and self-examination. And then finally, they're open to new opportunities and new experiences. So there have been various studies that have investigated that correlation between openness and intelligence. And they found that the degree of openness can actually affect kind of that fluid intelligence. So being open-minded signals that cognitive adaptability and flexibility, which is what keeps us curious and open and ready to learn. So it's important to keep in mind that intelligence easily can't easily be measured, and it's not fixed, right? It's not a fixed point on a scale. It's very fluid, and it can move. So intelligence is fluid. So next, let's take a look at some of the struggles that our highly intelligent children may experience. So one of the struggles that our highly intelligent children may face is that they get bored and impatient. They find it difficult to connect with others on a meaningful level. This is due at least in part to not being able to connect with or be interested in some of the same things that others of their same age group may be interested in. For example, in that teen years, particularly maybe the middle teen years, they're extremely interested in who's dating whom, and talking about the upcoming school dance, or the latest song to drop, or what happened at the football game. And these aren't necessarily things that are of interest to our highly intelligent children. They're more interested in discussing ideas and concepts, and they enjoy kind of those abstract, thought-provoking kind of mental exercises. They're also careful with their words. They understand that words have value, and meanings, words can also be very nuanced in their meaning. So they're very careful with them, which can sometimes appear that they're very reserved or quiet or overly serious, again, because they're being careful with their word selections and choices. This makes them slower to respond, so again leads to those feelings that they may be shy or quiet, or even disengaged. They can also be a bit socially awkward. There was a 2015 study by Davidson Institute that showed that people who have high IQs tend to have lower EQs. Those are the emotional intelligent quotient, which is what helps us kind of form those relationships and kind of help us hone our social skills. And then they can seek real connections and friendships, and often struggle in making good friends. Oftentimes people are intimidated by our highly intelligent children because they feel like they're too smart and they may not be able to connect. Again, our highly intelligent children like to have those deeper conversations and enjoy those thought-provoking and stimulating discussions, whereas others may shy a little bit more away from that, or be intimidated to dive into those types of conversations and discussions. So they feel like they may not be able to relate to the highly intelligent student, and they're not necessarily smart enough to be friends with them. So they may have, our highly intelligent children may have difficulty making connections in that way, not necessarily because of anything they've done or anything like that. It's because of the way they're perceived by others in their social circles. Another struggle they may experience is feeling isolated and or misunderstood. And this is going to slightly connect to the one I mentioned previously, but this is really because they're not always good in those social situations. They're not good with making just generalized small talk, and find that hard to connect with friends then. So they often can feel very alone even when they're sitting within a crowd. And because of that, they may choose then not to go out as often, which again can create additional feelings of isolation. So they end up then with an imbalance between school and social, and that can lead to unhappiness, it can lead to low self-esteem, and it can lead to academic burnout as well. Another struggle that they may experience is they kind of carry a burden of overthinking. They have an active mind that's constantly analyzing and questioning and kind of dissecting everything. And this can lead to something that we often refer to as paralysis by analysis. So decision making then can become extremely difficult because they can be overwhelmed with all of the different possible outcomes of a particular decision. So again, one of the struggles is that burden of overthinking. Another struggle is that their mind craves exercise and they need that intellectual stimulation. So highly intelligent people enjoy and need that constant intellectual stimulation, and they want and they need something to do that really engages their brain and it kind of gives them that challenge that they're seeking. Without it, they can feel unfulfilled, they can feel disengaged, which may lead them then to feel restless and dissatisfied. And then the final struggle I'm going to mention is that they have a fear of underachieving. So you've probably heard the phrase, with great intelligence comes great expectation. And this feeling then, just a casual comment from a friend such as, so you got another A on the test, huh? Can cause the highly intelligent student to think, okay, that's my role. I'm the student that gets A's. I always have to get A's. I can never do anything less. I always have to get A's, which causes them to continually push themselves and have to prove their intelligence over and over and over again. And this can actually lead to exacerbating perfectionistic tendencies, which is another episode in this series. So take a little look at that if you're interested. But it can exacerbate that and can also lead to kind of an unhealthy and disproportionate fear of failure, anxiety, and imposter syndrome. So this is kind of a quick look at the different struggles that our kiddos may face. And some people can never get past seeing them as kind of that high IQ or that high SAT or that kid that always makes A's, the smart kid. And some may even, I want to be careful with this, but they may even villainize them out of jealousy, which can lead to feelings of loneliness and disconnect and some of the other things that I've already mentioned. So as parents and family members, what are some ways that we can support our highly intelligent children? First and foremost, our highly intelligent child is still a child. And so it's really important that they do the things that children need to do. They need to run, they need to play, they need to laugh, they need to daydream. They need to have boundaries. They need attention and discipline. They need parental involvement. They need time with family, time with friends. Again, highly intelligent children are still children, and so they need to have those same similar experiences that children have. Our highly intelligent children need to hear positives about 10 times as often as the negatives. They tend to be sensitive, so Hearing the positives becomes extremely important. They're already identifying any negatives within themselves, and they're internalizing that, and they're fretting on it and worrying about it. So it becomes extremely important that they hear those positives from us, letting them know that they are special, that they're unique, that they are more than whatever labels they might be carrying. The A kid, the high SAT, the high IQ, the curve setter, the gifted kid. They are more than those labels. Um, it's important that they understand that um, they are special and unique, yes, but that all children are special and unique. They're just, they're all different. And so making sure that they see, recognize, and understand that. It's also really important that our highly intelligent child feels heard, that they feel listened to. So taking time to have those conversations with them. They're going to have tons and tons of questions. And so I know if you're anything like me as a parent, sometimes you're just overwhelmed and exhausted with everything going on, but making sure that to carve out time to sit and listen to the questions and answer them, and to have those discussions and conversations with your highly intelligent child, it truly makes a huge difference to them to feel that they are heard and that they are listened to. Not taking time to hear those things and have those moments with your highly intelligent child can cause a decrease in their curiosity, and they may stop asking those questions. And then finally, praise, praise, praise. Our highly intelligent children need lots of praise. I think children in general need lots of praise. I think it's important too that if our highly intelligent child has a situation where they feel like they've failed, or not done as well as what they feel they should have done, that it's important to still praise them through that. So instead of focusing on an outcome, focusing on the process and praising that process. Failure, you've probably heard it a million times, but the word fail is first attempt in learning, and our brains need those opportunities of failure in order to learn and to grow. So again, praising them through those moments. Knowing our children's interest levels and kind of helping to build on these is also really important. So helping them to find and use resources at home and within the community that kind of helps them further that learning in their area of interest, and it can really be helpful. And then encouraging originality by helping them do their thing and praising what they produce. Help them take pride in their original and creative work. Another way we can help is discipline is necessary. Highly intelligent children are often good at manipulation. So it's important that as parents and family members, we kind of stand our ground, because high intelligence is not an acceptable excuse for a behavior that we do not wish to see. So it's important to talk with our highly intelligent children about the behavior that we're not happy with seeing, and explaining why, and then applying consequences. And again, it's important for them to understand the why of those consequences. I noticed with my own kids, it was a little bit different in disciplining my highly intelligent child compared to, let's say, my creative learner, because my highly intelligent child needed to understand the whys behind everything. Why was this behavior unacceptable? Why is there a consequence? Why is that the consequence? Whereas my creative child, she needed to understand why the behavior was unacceptable, but didn't really care so much as to why the particular consequence was applied. It was just that was a consequence. That was what she was, what she was going to have to do or not do in order to adjust the behavior. But my highly intelligent child had to understand each of those different aspects. You've probably heard the phrase garbage in, garbage out. And that really means that what our kiddos watch, what they read, what they listen to, whatever comes in is going to come out in the way that they act, the way they perform, and the way that they respond. So as parents of highly intelligent children, it's going to be important for us to make sure that they have access to good books and magazines and other learning aids, especially since they're kind of devouring it at such a rapid rate, making sure that they have access to plenty of those materials will be really important. And then helping them to explore the world at home, in their own backyard, in their community, visiting museums and art galleries, different educational institutions, historical places, and so forth. This is going to enhance their learning. I talk a little bit more about doing those types of activities in the episode on helping my gifted child succeed. So again, if you're interested in exploring that a little bit more, I recommend that resource. Our highly intelligent children will do everything if we let them. They are going to sign up for lots of extras, extra learning opportunities, academically oriented clubs, community service, programs at the library, and so forth. They're going to sign up for as many extras as they can. As their parents, it's important for us to really kind of keep a handle on those because it's still important for them to engage in other regular kid type activities. So taking time to spend with friends, to read comics, to play games, to go swimming, to just sitting and daydreaming. These are all really important for a child's development. And so while they're going to try to pack it with all of those extras, as parents, we really need to be able to monitor that and make sure that they're having time and participating in some of these other more kid-like activities. Even if they consider it a waste of time, it'll be important for them to understand that it's not a waste of time, that these are also actually important activities for their growth and development. As parents, it's hard to avoid that role of rescuer. It's hard to watch our kiddos struggle. It's hard to watch them fail, but those moments are really important for their growth and their development. They need to be able to experience, for example, the consequences of forgetting their homework, of doing poorly on an assignment, for being late to class. And I know all those things sound maybe not what our highly intelligent child will do, but they certainly could. For example, a highly intelligent child with perfectionistic tendencies may really struggle with either starting an assignment or finishing an assignment because they need it to be perfect, and they're not sure it can be perfect because in their mind nothing can ever be perfect. Again, that assignment may be late or incomplete because of those perfectionistic tendencies that they're struggling with. So it's important to let them experience those struggles and those failures, because again, as I mentioned earlier, sitting in those times of struggle is when they really can have those great moments of growth and realization. And then our highly intelligent children are often very acutely aware of kind of those adult issues and experiences such as finances, sickness, war, death. Because they're acutely aware of that, they may need our assurances that things are okay. They may need to understand those things at a deeper level and maybe earlier in their lives than other children may. So recognizing that they maybe dealing with or grappling with some of those adult issues, and then helping them to address, unpack, and understand those situations will be really helpful. And then finally, enjoy your highly intelligent child. Gifted children are curious, they're enthusiastic, they're excited about learning new things, they're excited about learning in general, and so much more. Excuse me. And they need acceptance. They need appreciation. They need to experience that sense of accomplishment. Um, so enjoy your highly intelligent child. So that was a very quick look at understanding and how we can support our highly intelligent children. If you have questions or would like to talk more, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I've listed my email address and telephone number there on the screen in front of you. So please do reach out if you'd like to talk more. You'll see two QR codes there on your screen. The one on the left is a QR code to some of our upcoming visit opportunities and programs, including additional in this gifted education series. The next one I have coming up, I'm going to review a couple of books for you. And then the final one in this series will be talking about advocating for our gifted children. The QR code there on the right is if you'd like to schedule a virtual or in-person appointment with me. So again, I invite you to use those QR codes or to call or email me. Giftedness isn't a destination. It's a journey worth guiding. And I thank you so much for walking alongside the journey of your gifted child.